All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Say. Got a real special guest today, Mr. Gene Zannetti, co-founder of Wrestling Mindset. How we doing today, Mrs. Zannetti?
Very good. Thank you for having me.
Yes, sir. I appreciate you taking the time, especially short notice like doing it. So I definitely excited to be able to sit down and talk to you. Love what you're doing for the sport. It's unique, it's different, and I think it brings something to the table that not a lot of people see or do or get to really, I guess, realize what how much of this mindset it plays a factor into. And I wish whenever I was wrestling that I had somebody like you to be able to kind of push it. And I guess my first question would be what first led you and your brother Jeff to get the ball rolling with wrestling mindset?
Living it ourselves, wrestling and obviously from elementary school right through college and then coaching when I was doing my master's degree at Springfield College. You just see how mental the sport is and how much of a need there is for mindset training, direct work on your mindset, and especially specific to wrestling. Because sure, there's sports psychology out there, but it's not specific to the sport of wrestling, which is exactly what our guys need. And I can tell you, traveling the country, me, our mindset coaches, we have over 70 mindset coaches across over 30 states. And we hear all the time the same thing where, people say they just wish they had this when they were growing up, right? They wish they had this when they were competing. So, we're just happy to give that.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's it's something back in the early mid '90s up to the early 2000s. It's just something you never really heard of, and I actually just watched you and Mike Mao sit down on his podcast, and I just some of the things that I caught from it, and it's something that I, I wish it was more even still like now like without you guys doing it like it wouldn't be really a thing because like even our local school stuff like that like the kids really think hey you pound the weights you lift you work out you do all of this and yet you don't see them really getting anything with the mindset, no coaching, no it, and I don't think that anybody can just come in and do it. Like I mean, as much as I've have paid attention and watched you, it's not like I could just walk into the room and be like, "Hey guys, let me get you. I got you here today." Like we're gonna get in your head because I wish that they would have more of it. Like, and I'm not sure how often are schools bringing you guys in? Like, are you guys dealing with a lot of high schools and colleges and stuff like that to where they're trying to get their kids and whenever they do bring you in, is it something that they keep around or is it like, hey, once you did it for a year or two, all right, hey, let's send them on their way. We got it from here, or are they keeping you locked in and engaged with the kids?
Oh, we've worked with so many teams throughout the years. I mean, at this point, we probably worked with over a third of the Division One programs, and many high schools, even right down to elementary school, middle schools. And I mean, every team is a little bit different, but the best ones, there's no doubt about it. They're doing it every single year. We've worked with St. Cloud State, Division Two, perennial powerhouse. I mean, we started working with them. They didn't win a national championship, and then the following year they won it for the first time, and then had a string of whatever 5 or 6 titles, whatever it's been. We've been working with them for 10 years, and they really got it right over there because they use wrestling mindset as part of their PowerPoint presentation when they're selling parents on recruiting. They're saying, hey, look, we use wrestling mindset, so we're taking care of your kids mentally and emotionally as well as physically. So there's teams who get that, and those teams who really get that, they're making most out of the experience because it's like anything else. You get out of it what you put into it. As far as I know, we have the greatest wrestling specific mindset program anywhere in the world. That being said, you're not going to get anything out of it if you're not working it. It's like lifting weights, your conditioning, your technique. You could have the best coaches in the world, but you need to get the most out of it. So
Sure.
if you're not putting it in, if you're not approaching it the right way, I don't care who you are or what you're doing, you're not going to get the same out of it. So it's both what you're doing and how you're doing it. You want both. You want to
Yeah.
have, ideally, you have the best program and you do it to the best of your ability.
That's awesome. I didn't know you guys work with St. Clouds, but yeah, that they are. They're such a powerhouse anymore, and to know that you guys are a part of it, like that, that's awesome. That's just a great thing to hear because at the end of the day, like it probably is playing such a huge factor into it. Not probably, it is, and I just wish more people would. I mean, I not to say that. people ain't, because I'm sure you're staying busy. Like you said, you've worked with so many of these schools, so clearly it's clicking. And I seen this thing Rocco Welsh said. Rocco Welsh was saying he was grinding, he was working, he was making it very physical. And I'm an Ohio guy, so like I've he went to PA boy, and then he ended up at Ohio State. So really paid attention, really have followed Rocco throughout his career. And then he said he started working with you guys, and just something was missing, and it was like that was the final piece. It put it together. And I can't say that, like, when you hear somebody like Rocco say that, it's like, man, they got to be doing something right. They're hitting something on the head. If you got a kid, a top blue chip recruit, one of the major, kids in the country at the moment, like saying, hey, this is the real deal. So it's awesome, and I'm glad to see you guys are doing it. But at the same time, I was wondering, like, as a youth, like, I guess that's where I have a young son, and I guess if I want him to, obviously, and there's a lot of parents, so like, to anybody that watches this has a young kid, all right, their first year or two, it goes rough for them, which it does with a lot of kids. Three first 3 to 5, 2 to 5 years, whatever, they struggle a little bit. What's something that, like, you could, I guess, say to keep those kids interested, keep them, because I believe wrestling builds more than just, even outside of wrestling. Like in my career now, I'm a heavy equipment operator, but like, it's made me want to be the best. It's made me um take bit pride in what I do, and I've definitely put that into wrestling. So like, uh, what's something that I guess parents could learn and be able to tell their children, like, that are struggling and maybe not wanting to go back to the mat?
Yeah, so I mean, of course, depending on the age, I mean, by the time a wrestler is 9 years old, if it's something they're doing year round, like almost 12 months out of the year or multiple times a week, they got to be working on their mindset with a mindset coach. There's no doubt about it. And by the time and it doesn't necessarily mean on a weekly basis, but at least twice a month, once a month is certainly reasonable. Uh, by the time they're 12, if they're going year round, they need to be doing weekly mindset training because it's such a part of the sport. So there's no substitute for that one-on-one program, no doubt about it. Before 9, kids are a little bit young. So from around 7 to 9, we have a kids mindset program where it's a series of mindset worksheets and videos that the parent and the wrestler go through together. It's kind of like priming the pump, getting them familiar with some of the mindset lessons and putting the pen to paper. That's a big thing. Starting to look at mindset training is not just something that's out there, in my head, theoretical and abstract, but actually putting the pen to paper.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, before 7, I think it's a lot about them, what they see and what they hear. So seeing the parents exercise, I mean, like with my kids, I've 2 boys and a little girl, so 4, 3, and 1. And for them, it's what I could tell, it's what they see and what they hear. So it's constantly pumping them with good information. So you have to know, who are you? What are your priorities? And what do you want this kid to be? So for me, I'm always saying over and over, Catholic gentleman, scholar, athlete, Catholic gentleman, scholar, athlete. So they're repeating this over and over again. And I want that in perfect order, because that's the importance. When they go back and they think of dad, this is what he wanted of me in that order. Catholic gentleman, scholar, athlete. And I find that pretty much everything can fit into one of those buckets as far as lessons that I'm trying to convey. They don't even know what they're saying, but they're repeating it over and over again. So then what do? I look to put information in front of them that relates to that. First of all, I have to live the code. And I'm not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but trying to live the code, really trying to live the code in each one of those areas. And then also, what are they seeing? So if I'm playing music for them, or if there is anything they're watching, you try to minimize TV, but if there is something they're watching something from Formed, which is, Catholic. It's basically falling into the buckets of religion, exercise. Like, we'll go in the basement. I work out in my office right here, but it's also my gym on the other side. And, we put on Rocky. There's a YouTube clip of every training scene from Rocky 1 through whatever 6. And it's like 23 minutes long, one after the next. We just run around back and forth. And sometimes, admittedly, I'd like them running around doing more, but they're watching it. They're seeing exercise. Or I'm playing, things like if we're on the way to school, I'll play something like, Born to Run or they're just hearing Born to Run. And then, like little things like that. I have a dad's pre-approved playlist of songs where it's like just injecting positive music and positive things. So when they think back, it's okay, this is what where I'm supposed to be. So I think it's a lot of like the mantras. I steal a lot from Coach Krause. I told him this, where I tell them, who's the man? And they'll say, I'm the man. Who's tired? Not me. They'll go through that. I'll say, are you ready? And I got this from Austin Wall, Wall Athletics over here. Shout out to him. And he'll say, he's saying, my son, are you ready, Zannetti? And then my son will say, Zanettis are always ready. So they don't know what they're even saying right now. They'll have to memorize their prayers. They wake up in the morning, do our morning prayers, do our evening prayers, things like that. So they're memorizing it, and eventually it'll start to sink in. But I don't have any expectation that they know what they're saying right now, right? So it's processes. It's that. And then when they're 7, kids mindset program, 9, now you're starting to look at the individual program once a month or twice a month. And then by 12, it's weekly mindset training, no doubt about it.
And that's awesome. So you would start like, all right. So as a parent of my son's the same age, right around 3 years old. So I guess as for somebody as a father right now, like you guys have a program for us to jump in now to be able to follow, to jump in and get them, I guess, kind of like how you're doing with your children. Is there something like with kids that are young that are just to try to get them on a right set to be able to get into your guys' program and get them started at a young age, just to try to help that we might not know, like, hey, what's the best way? Like you just taught me something new. I think that those are awesome things that you're doing, and the way that you're living is phenomenal. Like, I think that's you're going to raise 3 amazing kids doing what you're doing. I think it's awesome.
Thank you. I hope so, with God's grace.
Yes, sir.
That's what, so like before, and even at 7 years old, because you're saying about something formal they could jump into, that would probably be around 7, again, depending on the kid's attention span. Everyone's going to be a little bit different. It's not just looking at the mental, the physical age, but also the mental and emotional age kind of. And now there's a lot of good studies with this. I saw a study in the International Journal of Wrestling Science, and they're talking about the Iranian development wrestling program. You could probably Google this. I could send it over to you, but it tells you like what the athlete should be doing at that age, from literally 0 to 5, 5 to 7. Like, it'll tell you what to do in terms of what they should be thinking about, and how, like, from 0 to 5, it's, activity. Make sure you see a lot of smiles on their face and a lot of laughter, right? Being able to change activities quickly. Like I said, the formal mindset training begins a little more at 7, but that's parent and child. And then the one-on-one mindset coaching, definitely indispensable once they turn roughly 9 years old. But now I think it's a lot of what they see around the home, how you're trying to live, the images you're putting in front of them, the words that they're hearing, and even little things like, and I'll take from everything. Like, I think Batman Begins. Why do we fall, Master Wayne? So we can learn to pick ourselves back up. So when they fall on the bike, I'm like, why do we fall? And they know, so we learn to pick ourselves back up. Right. And, with food, it's like, this is a natural food, right? At a young age, it's very black or white. So I look at all the behaviors. Is this behavior going to make you strong or weak? So this food, is this going to make you strong or weak? Is this behavior going to make you strong or weak? Overly simplistic, right? So, but
I like it though, because it is so. But even as a parent of somebody, I mean, same age as your children, it's given me a different outlook on it, to where I need to just get a laptop and be done with it. But we're just getting rolling with this whole deal. But no, what I was saying was just how unique your outlook is, and it's intriguing to me, because like I want to raise my son, and like I think that's what has. And I love wrestling. Like, obviously, I'm doing a podcast talking to wrestlers. Like, I just want to be a part of the sport, have a passion for it, and I want my son to love it, and I'll also be. But I want to do it the right way. I don't want to be that parent that like shoves them into it, does it in a way that like makes him feel like he has to do it to please dad. I want him to love it and be a part of it, and even if he doesn't, like, just still want to put that same mindset that you're talking about with or without the sport. And I think that what you're doing is such an awesome thing, like, because it is. And you're not only teaching these kids in the wrestling world a great mindset on like how to go, but like even from parents to like you could really use this in anything. And I heard that you guys have stretched it to different sports and from golf to baseball. And how has that worked out for you from starting with wrestling to these other sports? Has it been a good transition for you?
Yeah, and that was always the plan because I know mindset is mindset. Peak performance is peak performance, right? If you're confident, if you know how to manage stress, if you're able to be aggressive or tactfully tenacious, that's going to apply to any area in your life. In fact, you're making a huge mistake if it's only in wrestling. You should be transferring that to the classroom, as a son or daughter, as a husband, wife, as a parent, right? And so on and so forth. Wrestlers should be the best across the board with all that. But again, it doesn't just have to be wrestling, like you said, it's all sports. And that was always the plan. But what we did for as a business decision to niche market it right away because we know where the wrestlers are, we know how to speak to them. But your niche is never the size of your full market. So I mean, since then we've worked with, so the UFC fighters, about 30 UFC fighters, which is close enough to wrestling. But I'll give you some other sports too. We've worked with top 5 teams in archery and cheerleading. So don't talk about couldn't be more different than wrestling right there, right?
Yes, sir.
Baseball, we've worked with state championship baseball teams in multiple states. Andy Pettit and Lance Berkman were both down in Texas coaching Lance Berkman's son's baseball team, and they're both World Series champs. Obviously, we worked with them. So obviously, I'm not going to teach Andy Pettit or Lance Berkman a thing about baseball. They bring us in for the mindset aspect of it. Our lacrosse team, our Division III lacrosse team, RIT won an NCAA championship, the first in the school's history. Our women's lacrosse team, national champs over at Northwestern. So it's mindset. It's all encompassing for all different areas. And then the idea was always to branch out too. So we also work with the San Francisco Conservatory of Music. And I could tell you, I spoke to after mass one day. I was in church and I was talking to a flautist, a flautist's father who was talking about being first chair, and her daughter's got this girl in front of her, and then she's going to this competition. And I thought, you sound like a wrestling dad. You literally sound exact like she's got this girl in front of her. She's got to beat her, and then she's got this competition. But it's competition is competition. We've worked at the Huntington Learning Center, and then during COVID, when sports shut down, a lot of them, we started working with Fortune 500 companies. We worked with Northwestern Mutual, Mass Mutual, because, like you said, mindset is mindset.
Right.
You need this. These are life lessons. So it doesn't even make a difference. If someone tells me they're retiring from wrestling, you still need the mindset training. You might need mindset training even more now because now you have to transition out of something that has been your life for so many years. And the important thing is now it's not just that you got in shape from wrestling. It's the mentality. It's the emotions that you got from wrestling. That's why when we started working with businesses, people started saying to me from big companies, introduce us to wrestlers. We want wrestlers to work with us because they understand the mindset and the emotional toughness there.
Yes, sir. And that is, and that's kind of why I love like the fact that you guys dipped it into these other, just kind of went with these other bags and started dipping into them because it was. I agree though, and honestly, like even myself, like that's why, like you're on Instagram, your videos, like I catch myself being like, man, I can use that as a 35-year-old parent that it runs heavy equipment. Like what he's saying, like I can relate to. So it's reaching so many people on different levels, and it's something that like I can appreciate what you guys have built, and you should be very proud of it, you and your brother both, because it's been fun to watch. I'll tell you that it has, and it's just something unique and different, and it was needed, very much needed, because I don't think people realize like I don't want to put a number on it, but like with you when it comes to wrestling, what is the percentage like physical to mental? Like what would you say percentage wise with wrestling?
I've heard all different things on Carrie Kolat's page. He said 95% mental. I spoke over at Olympic Wrestling Club. Florian Guinea said from Romania, he said it's 80% mental. The reality is you can't put an exact number on it. And these people know that, right? Here, the important thing is this. If you ask someone what percentage is physical and mental, they'll give you a very high number mental. Like the lowest number I've ever heard is like 40% ever. Okay, like 40%. They'll say, okay, let's just use the low number. Most people will tell you 90%. So let's just say it's the low number, 40%. Then you ask yourself, what's your percentage of training or preparation in life, physically versus mentally, or technically versus mentally, in any area of your life? and they'll tell you it's the opposite. Not even the opposite. They'll say it's like 95% physical or technical training. And now you got them because they locked in a number. I could say it until I'm blue in the face how important mindset is. But it's more impactful. Sometimes we do too much talking and not asking enough questions. And it's, what do you say it is? What do you think it is? What percentage do you think it is? And then once they give a number, and you say, what percentage is your training, mental and physical? And then when they see it's almost the opposite, then you say, well, do you see a problem there? And I'm not a mathematician. I was better at English and history, okay? Science were not my strong suit. But you don't have to be a mathematician to realize there's something off there. And it's, guys, you can continue to plow through with just pure hard work, which is great and everything. But newsflash, you take a smarter approach, you take a more efficient and economical approach. There's a lot of people working hard. And in a competitive society, it's the people who are working both hard and smart. You don't have to pick one. It's not don't train hard, train smart. It's you got to do both. And the person who knows how to maximize their potential eventually will beat the person who doesn't know how to tap into what they have. So what I was saying before is you could have someone who's just pure hard work and they keep getting better. Yes, they will keep getting better technically, strengthen their conditioning, but their car is still in second gear. You have 5 gears. You're getting better. Like we're putting an objectively faster car each time, but you're still in second gear. And isn't that frustrating when you know deep down that there's another gear in you? And that's why I think you see the wrestlers throw their headgear, they're crying, and the deep internal like anguish after a loss. It's not usually just because they lost. It's because they knew they had more in the tank. And I'm not saying have more in the tank and they could have tried harder. I'm not saying that. These wrestlers are giving their very best. They're going 100%. There's no doubt in my mind. But they're not wrestling free. They're not letting go. They're wrestling. They're going 100%, but they're still too cautious and hesitant and not having that same killer instinct as they do in practice. And that holds them back. And it's so painful to watch when you know this athlete has poured their heart and soul into it. They've done everything they could physically, and yet they're not doing what you see them do in practice. If you could do it in practice and not a match, that's not a physical thing. That's mental.
Do you think it boils down to them wrestling the rank or the guy's name rather than them just going out and just saying, "Hey, I don't care what numbers beside his name," or what is it? Do you think that's the restriction, or is it more or less just sometimes you get in your own head? Because I know that I did back in the day. Like whenever I wrestled, it was like, man, it's a 2-time state champ. Like I might have been defeated already before I stepped on that mat, even though like if I wouldn't have thought like that before, I could have went out and really wrestled well against this kid, and I beat myself before I ever was on it. Is in today's, I guess, NCAA's and high school level kids, do you think that that's a big factor into some of, hey, they put everything into it, but something that's holding them back?
Oh yeah, that always has been a big part of it that holds people back, and it always will be. But there's so many things. So there's 2 aspects of it. There's the negative side in terms of what am I doing that's holding myself back, and then there's the positive side of what can I be doing to enhance my performance. It's both, right? So it's like if you want to look at it, almost I never quite baked out this analogy, but it's just kind of popping in my head now. But you have your rehab and your prehab, taking care of your joints, your mobility, your stability. If you want to look at that kind of like a defensive thing, like you're preventing being injured, that's very important. That's very, very important. You can't just gas it with your strength training, that would be maybe the positive side of it, like pack muscle on, get stronger, build explosiveness. But if you get hurt, you're out. Yeah, you might be stronger, but you're hurt on the sidelines. So it's both. I don't mean to call it the negative aspect of it, but there's the preventative. What am I doing that's holding me back, which could be likened to the rehab, prehab. And then there's the performance enhancement. What are the exercises I can do to get stronger, to get in better condition, to build more explosiveness? And in mindset, it's like the same thing. You have the negative side and the positive side. Negatively, what am I doing that could be holding myself back? Like you said, one of the top things is wrestling the rank or wrestling the name. That's one aspect of it. Also, in addition to that, you want to look good in front of other people or not look bad in front of people. You want to make your parents proud. You want to look good in front of your teammates. You're an older sibling. You want your younger brother to look up to you. There's thinking about what am I seated? If I win this match, what am I going to be seated at the end of the year? There's like I said, how does it look to other people? There's the aspect of, well, I put so much time and I don't want to let myself down. Maybe it's not even other people. It's I don't want to let myself down. What if I make a mistake? And then there's focusing on the wrong things where, okay, I know my opponent has a really good double leg. Well, I'm not thinking about rankings or records or letting other people down, but I'm preoccupied with his double leg instead of getting to my offense. So that's another way I could be hurting myself. So that would be like the preventative, like removing those obstacles that I'm putting in front of myself that I might not even be aware of now. And then doing the mindset building exercises to build the mental muscle, so to speak. And that's where I say I could ask anyone, how do I get stronger arms? And they could tell me, they'll give you the exercises, they'll rattle them off. They'll give you 10 or 20 right in a row. What do you do to get stronger legs? They'll rattle them off 10 or 20 right in a row. And then I said, what do you do to build confidence? What are the exercises? Like, not rhetorically, what would you actually do? If you had someone come to you, what do you tell them to do to get more confidence? And maybe they can name one or two things. But in my mind, I'm rattling off 10 different exercises,
Right.
just like the legs and the arms. Same thing. How do I relax under pressure? A lot of people say, well, take some deep breaths. Okay, you took 10 deep breaths. Now what? I'm still not calm. What do I do? What are the other exercises? They don't know exactly. They'll say things like meditate and take deep breaths, but they don't really know. And it should be the same way it is with the body, like it is with the mind. And that's exactly what we do. We give the wrestlers now this is the positive side of mindset training. These are the exercises to build the mental muscle of confidence, motivation, mental toughness, relaxing under pressure, aggressiveness, clarity, staying in the present moment, and so on and so forth.
Wow. Give me a different outlook on all of it, buddy. That's awesome. You're definitely, and you can tell you have a passion for this. Like, and I think that's what makes this work for you. And because you love it. And my gosh, you've taught me so much in 28 minutes, and we'll take 3 of those in 25 minutes. You've showed me a lot, buddy, and I do appreciate it more than you know, Mr. Gene. And I'm sorry, because I know that I didn't want to hold you up too long, but one thing I do want to get out before I jump off is if anybody wanted to jump on you, whether it's schools, whether how can they reach out, get in touch to get your guys's one of your
Yes.
get I guess the best way to put it is to get your services. What's the best way that they could go about it?
Yes, and we've been working virtual since well before COVID. I've been doing this for 15 years now, and I always made decisions based on what would work for me back when I was competing, because that's what the wrestlers need, right? So with individuals, one-on-ones, we do that over the phone, and it's about a half hour once a week. Could go longer, could go shorter, depending on the kid. I'm more of a talker, so maybe I would last longer. Whereas one of my brothers is quieter. If he was on a mindset session if he had a mindset coach, he'd probably be shorter than me because I talk more, right? But on average, about a half hour once a week for the individual program over the phone. So anyone can do that. There's no excuse. You don't have to go to an office. You could do that on the drive on the way over to a practice, after practice, whatever. You could always fit a half hour into your schedule. And then Teams, we work with Teams over Zoom. Before COVID, it was Skype, and that kind of went to the side. But nonetheless, we set that up with Teams, so it's virtual. It's very easy to do, and it's about 45 minutes. And we recommend doing that every single week because you don't want people. You want to set the right frame. You want the kids thinking about mindset the right way. If they look at the mindset coach as a guest speaker or motivational speaker, they're viewing it the wrong way. They need to view the mindset coach like a strength coach for their mind. That's the way you want them to view it. And a strength coach is someone you see on a weekly basis. It's not a guest presenter. In a certain sense, they're part of the team without being on the team. So, like I said, Teams we do on Zoom, 45 minutes. We recommend going once a week and start as soon as the school year starts. An individual over the phone, half hour. We recommend starting that as soon as possible. As far as once the kid's of a certain age, by the time they're 9, the best time to start is now, especially now because we have a lot of time before the season. So you have many months before that state tournament, as opposed to, I'll always get the calls in December and January. Hey, you got to help my kid. We're not miracle workers here. That's not how it works. In no other area, if you told that to a strength coach, my kid needs to get stronger, and you brought them to you in January, they probably laugh at you, right? I mean, they probably laugh. That's that.
Off season's that time. Off season's that time.
Well, this should have been addressed a while ago, right?
Yes, sir.
So it's the same thing here. But if people want to get a hold of us, they go to wrestlingmindset.com, our Instagram at Wrestling Mindset. Send us an email, mindset@wrestlingmindset.com. And then what they could do also is get our daily text message. It's free. It's you text the number 84576, and then the message is mindset the number one, and then you'll be able to get the daily text message. I have a book out, Building the Predator Mindset. Like I said, we're just constantly pumping out a lot of free information, just giving a lot of value, and that's great. I mean, any parent, any coach, any wrestler should just be devouring the content because it's built for you as a wrestler. It's made by wrestlers for wrestlers. But when you're competing, there's no substitute for the individual program. I mean, if you think you're going to, this day and age in such a competitive society, if you think you're going to maximize your potential and not put direct work in on your mindset with the mindset coach, you're sorely mistaken. You need to be working on this. This is the missing link usually between people and their dreams. And I get excited about it because it's exactly what I needed. And like you said that you needed, we all needed this.
Absolutely.
And now it's actually available. So it's very important to take what people give you and capitalize. Even if you're not the most talented, you can capitalize on this. You could beat someone who's better than you if you learn how to maximize your potential. And if you're one of the better wrestlers, don't go thinking you're too cool for school.
Yeah.
The best wrestlers need the most mindset training because the target's on your back. All eyes are on you. Colleges are looking to recruit you. The coach always says, hey, we need 6 points. We need a pin. We need a tech fall. All the expectations are there. So the best wrestlers need the most mindset training. It's like the strongest people don't do the least strength training. They do the most strength training.
Yes, sir.
In this.
I like that though. I mean, man, and honestly, like you couldn't have put it better. And I hope that you guys stay after it, stay doing it. I can promise you that I know that I'm going to be in touch and be reaching out and around that 7 to 9 year old age, and like I said, you guys have helped me just watching you on Instagram and those, and just to be honest with you, I ordered that book right on Amazon right before I got on here, so I'm actually really excited to dig into that, and you guys are just doing great things. So I hope it all keeps working for you. You guys keep doing what you're doing, and like to reach back out and touch base with you here, and hopefully this platform grows too, and we can stay grinding and link back up, buddy.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Thank you. I appreciate you taking the time and just sharing all of this with us, and we'll definitely stay in touch, big guys.
Absolutely. However I could help, just let me know. Happy to help. Take care.
Thank you. I appreciate you, Mr. Gene. Thank you.
Take care.
Bye.